Right now, someone you know is quietly becoming a different person. No announcement. No Instagram post. No new me caption. They just disappeared for a while. And when they came back, something had changed in their eyes, their posture, their silence. You probably know someone like that. Or maybe you used to be that person before life talked you out of it. Here's an uncomfortable truth. The people who transform the most are usually the quietest about it. They don't warn you. They don't ask permission. They just build alone, in the dark, while everyone else is busy performing. And by the time you notice, it's already too late to catch up. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you changes how you see silence forever. This isn't a video about hustle culture. This isn't another wake up at 5 a.m. lecture. This is about something older and far more dangerous to your old identity. The Stoics understood a truth most people never learn. Real transformation cannot survive an audience. The moment you announce a change, part of you starts performing it instead of living it. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his private journal for followers. Seneca didn't whisper his philosophy to gain applause. Epictetus, born a slave, rebuilt his entire mind without anyone clapping for him. They changed in silence. And if you want to become unrecognizable not to others, but to your old self, you're going to have to disappear for a while too. If that idea unsettles you a little, good, keep watching. If this mindset speaks to you, subscribe, because every video here is built to strengthen your mind, one lesson at a time. Here's something almost nobody talks about. Telling people your plans can quietly sabotage them. Psychologists have observed this pattern for decades. When you announce a goal, your brain registers a small hit of identity satisfaction, as if the goal is already partly achieved. The applause, the good for you, the likes. It feels like progress. It isn't. It's a shortcut your mind takes instead of doing the work. Think about the last time you told everyone you were starting Monday. The gym, the diet, the business, the book. What happened? For most people, nothing. The energy leaked out through the conversation itself. But here's the problem. This isn't really about willpower. It's about where your motivation is coming from. External validation is a candle. It flickers, and it dies in wind. What you need instead burns quieter and much longer. And that's exactly where most people fail without even realizing it. Seneca once wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and the same is true for change. We imagine we need permission, recognition, an audience to make it real. We don't. There is a different kind of fire. Not the fire that needs oxygen from other people's opinions. A fire that burns from purpose alone, sealed inside you, untouched by outside noise. Have you ever noticed how the moments you grew the most were never filmed, never posted, never explained to anyone? The 6 a.m. session nobody saw. The book you read alone at night. The mistake you fixed quietly instead of announcing you'd fix it. That's real fire, not performance. Few people understand this distinction, and it's the exact reason so many transformations online don't last past 90 days. They were built for applause, not built to survive silence. And silence, as you're about to see, is where the real war actually happens. Be honest with yourself for a second. Doesn't silence feel almost unbearable sometimes? No feedback, no progress bar, no one clapping while you study for the exam nobody's making you take, or train for the body nobody demanded you build. Modern life has quietly rewired you to expect constant proof that you exist. A notification, a like, a comment, a reply. Take that away, and the identity starts to panic. That panic is not weakness. It's withdrawal. Your phone, your feed, your validation loop, they're a low, constant hum of noise that convinces you silence is dangerous. But here's what most people never realize. Silence isn't empty. Silence is where the actual construction happens. Every warrior, every philosopher, every builder in history did their deepest work away from the crowd. The crowd only ever sees the finished sword, never the forge. And what happens in that forge is where everything changes. Picture a blacksmith. Metal glowing orange, folded over itself again and again, hammered under pressure, nobody applauds. If he stopped every few strikes to check what people thought of his progress, the blade would never form. It needs uninterrupted heat, uninterrupted pressure. This is you, right now, whether you feel it or not. Every rep in the gym that nobody saw. Every page studied at night while friends went out. Every no you said to a distraction that could have felt good for 5 minutes and cost you 5 months. That's the hammer. That's the fold. That's the forge doing its quiet, invisible work on you. Epictetus taught that we don't control outcomes, only our effort, our choices, our discipline in the moment. Nobody needs to witness your effort for it to count. In fact, the less witnessed it is, the more honest it usually is. What comes next is where most people quit before the blade is even finished forming. Let's pause for a second. Picture 2 men. Same age. Same starting point 5 years ago. One posted every workout, every grind quote, every milestone. The other said nothing. Trained, studied, built quietly. Fast forward to today. One burned out chasing applause that eventually got quieter as the novelty wore off. The other is unrecognizable physically, mentally, financially, and barely anyone saw it coming. Same 5 years. Completely different men. The difference wasn't talent. It wasn't luck. It was where their fire was coming from. One needed an audience to keep burning. The other didn't need anyone. Which one do you think is still standing when the excitement fades? Type discipline if you already know the answer. Here's a question most people are afraid to ask themselves. If no one ever found out, would you still do the work? Would you still go to the gym? Still open the book? Still wake up early? Still say no to the distraction? Still choose the harder right thing over the easier wrong thing? This is the mirror test. Not the mirror on your wall, the mirror inside you, the one that reflects who you actually are when the audience disappears. Marcus Aurelius wrote his private meditations as reminders to himself, not performances for Rome. He was quite literally talking to his own mirror. That's the version of you that matters. Not the one performing for comments. The one who shows up when literally nothing is being recorded. Could this be the real test you've been avoiding? Because the answer to that question predicts your next 5 years far better than any goal you've written down. Here's what almost nobody wants to admit. The version of you that needs validation to act is the version that quietly negotiates itself out of growth. Every time. Because validation is unreliable. Some days it comes, some days it doesn't, and on the days it doesn't, that version of you stops. Now imagine, 5 years from now, looking back at today. Imagine realizing you spent that time performing effort instead of actually building it. That regret is heavier than any failure. Failure teaches you something. Performed effort teaches you nothing, because it was never real to begin with. This is the fear worth having, not fear of failing in silence, but fear of never having tried in silence at all. The chains here aren't external. Nobody locked you in. You did every time you needed an audience to justify the work. But chains you built yourself can be broken the exact same way. Transformation, real transformation, has a strange side effect. People stop recognizing you. Not your face, your patterns. Your reactions. Your standards. The Stoics called this becoming this sculptor of your own soul, chipping away what doesn't serve the person you're becoming. A sculpture doesn't announce itself mid-carving. It simply exists differently once the chiseling is done. This is uncomfortable, because some people around you like the old version. The one who was available for every distraction, every comfort spiral, every hour lost to nothing. When you go quiet to build, some relationships won't survive it. That's not a flaw in the process, it's proof the process is working. Have you ever caught yourself shrinking your own goals just to stay comfortable for people around you? That pattern ends the moment silence becomes your training ground instead of your enemy. And what you build there is stronger than anything built for applause. Here's the final shift before everything comes together. Purpose without witnesses is still purpose. In fact, it might be the only version that's real. A compass doesn't need someone watching it to point north. It simply does, quietly, constantly, whether anyone's looking or not. That's the identity you're building right now, whether you feel it yet or not. Not a performance. A direction. Seneca said luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity, and preparation, by definition, happens before anyone is paying attention. Nobody prepares in front of a crowd. They prepare in rooms nobody enters, at hours nobody keeps, through repetitions nobody counts. This is where most people give up, right before the compound effect becomes visible. But you're not most people anymore, are you? The next part is the one lesson that ties everything you've just learned into a single, permanent shift. Here it is, the principle that changes everything. You don't need permission to change. You don't need applause to keep going. You don't need anyone to notice the work for the work to be real. The strongest version of you is being built right now, in rooms with no cameras, on days with no likes, during hours nobody will ever ask about. That's not a punishment. That's the privilege only quiet people get to experience, becoming powerful before anyone else even realizes it's happening. One day, months from now, someone is going to look at you and ask what changed. And you won't need a long story. You'll just say quietly, I decided to stop announcing it and start becoming it. That sentence alone will carry more weight than 1,000 posts ever could. So here's your challenge, starting today. Choose one goal. Don't tell anyone. No post, no story, no accountability text to 10 people. Just you, the mirror, and the forge. Let silence do what silence has always done for the people who became unrecognizable. Marcus, Seneca, Epictetus, and every quiet person you've ever admired without knowing their full story. They didn't announce the mountain. They just climbed it. Comment, I'm ready, if you're willing to disappear for a while to become someone your old self wouldn't recognize. And if this video moved something in you, subscribe. Because this channel exists for exactly this, building minds strong enough to grow without needing an audience to do it. Remember this, always. The ones who talk the least about change are usually the ones actually changing.